Yeah.
Just go ahead now.
Okay, welcome to July 14th, 2023 Create a World. My name is Victoria McMahon and I'm a collaborator hosting today. Create a World was generated through the field of Tantra Mat, and it is based on the principles of everything is on behalf of everything else. Everything is a part of everything else. And everything is in relationship with everything else, giving everything a place. Everything on behalf of life existing as whole, and knowing that everything is moving to its next greater whole. Our conversation on Create a World is a container in which we can be curious, in observation, exploration, and discovery. It's a community for the moment and a lifetime. And no one can be you but you. No one can be us but us. So we come together in our own uniqueness. I, Victoria, have been leading yoga movement practices since the late 90s. Also trained as a Gestalt psychotherapist. I have been in relationship with the body, the mind, and the spirit. And I met our guests today, Susie and Otto Collins, in the late 90s, somewhere around that time, through my yoga movement practice, joining them in a spiritual retreat community in the Gulf Shores of Alabama. So again, my life, I had to go all the way from the state I lived in Columbus, Ohio, where they are located, and go somewhere else in order to find deeper connections. That's been a story in my life. I wonder if it's that way for you guys. I'm pleased to introduce to you Susie and Otto Collins. And I want you to know that they are spiritual partners as well as life partners and certified transformative coaches. They have been helping others for decades now to move past stress, conflict, challenges, and the misunderstandings that occur in life. And what I love most is that they live a life and support you in living a life of possibilities, of love in possibility. They have so many great works, from books to other blog materials. And a couple of them that I know of are Magic Relationship Words. I love that title. No More Jealousy, and Relationship Trust Turnaround. I'm excited to hear today because I have not been in conversation in the last few years with Susie and Otto, but now that they have a Love Made Easy podcast, I want to know more about that, as well as Big Fat Love being launched this coming week on paperback and Kindle. So those are two that I want to talk about, as well as who knows what will rise, because our uniqueness will bring the flavor and the magic in the moment. So Susie and Otto, welcome. Thank you for joining me. I'm so pleased to be in conversation with you both.
Oh, we're so pleased to be here, Victoria. We are just I mean, I love the name of it, what Create a World of this whole enterprise that you all are collaborating on. And we're really grateful to be part of it today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share and to be in conversation and to share what we are seeing about how somebody can create their world in a in a way that's beautiful and enriching and enlivening to them. So I'm excited to share what we can
Mhm.
to
With
help.
lots of love.
Yeah, with lots of love. Yeah, to point them
To possibilities.
I love that, because that's what we're focusing a lot of our work these days on, helping people to see possibilities that maybe they haven't been able to see up until now.
And in these times, possibility is what helps awaken us. And even as you guys said that, my whole physical being got excited about what's the possibility that emerges today in a conversation. We're always so used to thinking, well, what's my plan for this conversation? And that's just not how I operate. I want to see what bubbles up from you guys. Yes, I know I'm interested in your podcast and what you're learning from being in that experience, and Big Fat Love, the book coming out. I want to know where Big Fat Love comes from. And I have all these imaginings, but I want to know, and I want to see what it wakes up in my own listening, in terms of being in a long-term relationship, just like you guys, and how there's a uniqueness to each relationship. So where do you want to start?
Well, let's start there. I mean, that's a great place to start, because it really points to some possibilities for people. The whole idea of Big Fat Love came many years ago. Susie and I, this is year 26 for us of being together. And we were together, what, a year or two, or, this is the early days of our relationship. I bought Susie a greeting card and gave it to her. And on the front of the card, there was the happy couple with the overgrown heart. And the words on the front of the card said, their love was big and fat. And then you open up the card and it says, because they fed it a lot between meals.
And that really, I mean, that is the basis of our relationship. And what we were teaching and are teaching people, that you got to feed it. Whatever relationship, it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic one, but you got to feed it if you want it to live and grow and be vital. And so that was a stroke of genius, Otto. It really was.
Yeah.
It was seeing the possibilities of what relationship can be.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it just brought up for me that I loved how you said it's not just romantic relationship.
No.
That it brings to me my relationship with yoga all these years. If I don't practice my movement, I'm not feeding the love and the joy that comes from the practice, that comes out of me in relationship with others. So that's just one way I'm automatically drawn to it.
Yeah, and one of the places in my life where I get to practice showing up as love, probably as much as any other place, is in my relationship with my mother. Okay, I don't know if anybody else watching or listening to this can relate to this, but my mother is a master guilt tripper and manipulator. And to not play when she attempts to do those things in order to get what she wants, because that's her method. That's her way of, oh, well, I'm going to do this. Well, I don't play. Sometimes
you did.
Sometimes
you did.
Well,
it was really something, to watch, because they'd slam the phone down, one or the other. And then Otto discovered, oh, wait, I don't have to play.
I don't have to play.
And
That I can show up as
yeah.
love.
And, all she wants really basically is his attention and to, well, when are you coming down? Well, you haven't been down in a long,
Just about-
long time.
Yeah, my mother lives about 2 hours
Yeah.
away from where we live, and it's south of us, and that's her conversation.
Yeah.
And
And when Otto quit playing and quit, like, wait a minute, I'm busy. Blah, blah,
it's
blah.
getting defensive.
Getting defensive. He calmly said, oh, it must seem that way to you. And that took all the wind out of her sails, all of her
And
anger.
that is such an example of what I mentioned earlier about what create a world is, that he gave her manipulation behavior a place to be and didn't feed it, but
Yeah.
gave a place that it's okay. We all have our challenges in our personalities, but we live the life, and the love exudes beyond those personality behaviors. And I see that as a perfect tie-in to how we are creating our worlds.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. And if there are people out there that go, oh, I can relate to this, then you have a possibility of how to move into the next greater whole of your relationship with someone, whether it's your mom or your dad or your boss or your best friend even.
Well, we're always creating. The question is, are we creating consciously? That's the real question, is, are we creating our relationships? Are we creating our life? Are we opening to love in a conscious way, meaning we're choosing how we want things to be? Or are we allowing our ways from the past to dictate how we're going to be in this moment? The pain of the past, are we going to drag that into this moment and then go forward with it? Or are we going to create something brand new that's fresh and alive, that doesn't rely on those painful experiences and the stories that we carry forward about all of that stuff? Are we going to be fresh and alive in this moment? To me, that's one of the biggest questions you can really examine and look at.
Well, and allowing your emotions, which come and go, to rule you. And, even if something does come up when you're talking to your mother, you realize, oh, I don't have to fall into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otto, the words consciously creating,
Yeah.
it brings up for me a really deep spiritual principle that the field of Tantra Mat explores and is curious and is in discovery of. And the idea that we create consciously, of the notion of who's the we. Is it our little personalities, or is it the soul of who we are in connection with that, with which sources us? How are we in relationship with our source, co-creating? And so it makes me think of that, so that we get into the greater that next piece of moving beyond those old pattern personalities, giving them a place and moving into the next version, possibility of that. How does that fit for you guys?
Well, I think that we go back to the card. What are you going to feed? When you realize, oh, wait a minute, I have a choice here. And we weren't brought up to think that we had a choice in any of it. We just, I don't know about you, but, I was brought up to toe the line, the party line, the family line, whatever. But wait a minute, I have a choice. I have a choice. And when you see that choice, you can decide, what are you going to feed? Are you going to feed this anger and this resentment and whatever that arises? and the story that goes along with it? Or are you going to feed, wait a minute, I don't have to fall into that. I can appreciate, I can love, love who she is, who he is, and love myself.
Victoria, I want to answer your question in a little bit different way, and I love what you're bringing to this, Susie. But what I see, or what I'm seeing in your question, is I really tune into, we are connecting to, and we are bringing forth exactly on purpose everything that we need for our spiritual growth, for our highest spiritual growth in each moment. I don't think we can get it wrong. And so that is the spiritual aspect that we're constantly bringing forth. We decide this, I believe, before we even come in to this incarnation. And then the we that I'm talking about, the I, the personality Otto, then I get to consciously choose, how do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What's that going to look like? And as much as I think that I've messed up in life, as much as I think I've done great, when I get to the end of my life and I'm back in the spirit world, it's going to be, oh yeah, you really played that out very nicely for your own personal and spiritual growth, for your highest good, that how you've evolved as a soul, that all the drama, all the mistakes that I think I've made, all the wonderful good stuff, it's all been in service to me growing in a way that's in perfect alignment with what my soul needs most.
And Otto, what opened up in my heart was big fat love.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can choose, to keep going down the other route, and that's not bad. The route of falling into manipulation or resentment or whatever, or we can choose to go through it all easier and with love.
How do you see that in the work that you guys do? How do you see the guiding people into the path of easier in love, in possibility?
I see it as really showing people that they do have a choice how they show up. And I know I said this before, but in my coaching with people who are, having challenges, whether in life or their relationships, but wait a minute, I have a choice how I show up here. I have a choice. And when they see that, they may not always make the easier, loving choice, but they see that, oh, wait a minute, I don't have to keep going down this route of being angry with him because he's not who I think he should be. I don't need to do that. Even if it's for one moment, I can show up as love. And what does that look like? So exploring what that looks like, because it's different for everybody.
That's an interesting thread to explore.
Yeah.
What it looks like.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing the word compassion, that it's about compassion in ourselves as well as compassion with others.
Mhm.
And that we're in relationship. Life is a relationship. And how are you connecting to life?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are in relationship with everyone and everything. And I'm no expert on these things, but we've all heard stories about, when such and such a thing happens on another continent, that it affects everything. And on a very practical level, we've all walked into a room where the energy was so thick you could cut it with a knife. a butter knife. And so we've all felt that. And so, yeah, it's an opportunity to see something new in every moment.
And I love, Otto, how you said we're in relationship with other humans, but we're also in relationship with every living thing.
Yes.
And for me, I have a relationship with the living things that most people don't recognize as animate. The stone beings, the tree beings, all these variations. For me, there's this big fat love that opens me up in a way that my relationship to my natural world is sometimes more inviting, more compassionate, more exciting even than some of my relationships with people.
Yeah, we have trees in our backyard that have told me their names, and so I know their names. You know, we have Denise and Leroy and Carl and Farouk, and then we have the big one, and then we have little Darcy. So those are the trees in our backyard, and they've named them, and it's an interesting relationship.
Say more about interesting relationship with trees, because I love trees too. And
Well,
so I want to know more how it is for you.
well, the relationship is, so for example, when the little one, the new one, the new tree, we got this little tree that its name is Darcy. We planted it, you know, as a little seedling too close to the house, and it was going to become big, and it was going to become, you grow roots that would eventually in a period of years cause a problem with the foundation of the house. And so we had a conversation with the other trees about whether she could be moved, and they would be okay with that to another place in the yard. And they basically told me the places where it would be acceptable to them, given their root system and the way that what would be okay.
And she's thriving now.
She's thriving now.
Yeah. And all the other trees have accepted her.
Yeah.
She has a place
Yeah.
where she can be nourished.
Yeah.
And that everyone can coexist within the community.
Yeah.
As a field. All of the principles of Country Mod
Yeah.
alive through a tree story. And that's another example to me of how big fat love exists, of how do we pay attention, and how do we nourish those relationships. So anything else on that before I shift to something else?
The only thing I want to say, and it's not about the lovely trees that we give thanks for every day, and the plants and the flowers, and but it's my feeling of when I'm raising my vibration of appreciation, whether it's for the trees in the backyard, or for my home, for Otto, whatever, for people in my life, I'm raising the vibration of everyone, of the whole world. That, to me, that idea helps the choice of how I'm going to show up, who I'm being. It's not only for, I'm being a nicer person or a kinder, more loving person with the people I'm with, but it's that it's helping the whole world raise the vibration, the frequency. And I love that idea.
Well, one of the things that you have to do when you're doing that, Susie, is you have to have an awareness and a consciousness of, how am I being? So to pose that question to yourself, how am I showing up in not just in the world, not just in your community, but how am I being in this moment? How am I being with my beloved? How am I being with myself? Am I being kind or am I being critical? Am I being loving or, yeah, not so much? So it's really being willing to do some self-inquiry and to look at, okay, how am I being? How am I showing up in this moment? You know, am I willing to be vulnerable, or am I shutting off myself to others? And, you know, we can even go back to the possibilities. Am I willing to be stepping out into something new? Or am I shutting off to the unknown, which is always where the growth is, which is always where the magic is in the unknown. Otherwise, you'd already have it. You'd already be aware of it, and you'd already have this creation if it was already in the known to you. But the unknown,
Oh, that can be scary.
no, it can't be. The unknown is where the juice is. And yeah, I get you. I get you.
It's a both and.
Yes, it is.
Well, it goes back to the creation.
Mhm.
Okay. So am I going to create this moment and this opportunity and this possibility as scary, or am
Yeah.
I going to create it as exciting? I mean, there's a story I heard one time that Tony Robbins actually told this story that I think is worth telling here about the way you see things. Tony Robbins talked about that he was called in because, and he actually told this, so I'm not telling this out of turn. He actually was told that he was having an impromptu consultation with, I believe it was Carly Simon. And she said, you know, I'm having a panic attack. She was about to go on stage. She said, you know, my body is flushed. I'm sweating. My hands are sweating, and I'm really nervous, and I can't go on. And he said, well, okay, well, so he helped her. And then he said, well, let me tell you about Bruce Springsteen. Well, Bruce Springsteen says, okay, I'm getting a lot of energy. I'm hot. My hands are sweating and so forth. And he said, when that happens, I know it's time to go on. Same exact thing that was described. One person says it's time to shut down and it's time to shrink. And another person says it's go time. Same scenario, same situation, same bodily reaction, but it's the story that you tell yourself about what's going on in the present moment that determines all of it.
Oh my gosh. Both of you. I want to circle back to co-creating consciously, because it just happened in the moment. When I said, is there anything else before I move into the next thread of curiosity? You guys took me exactly where I wanted to go. Just stepped into it like you were stepping onto stage, and you were in the flow of it.
Mhm.
And so what it brings back to my mind is the book Magic Relationship Words, and how we use language, how we are in connection with our language that creates the world that we seek to live. And in the field of Tantra Mat, we have a practice using a writing practice of the creation templates. Craving creates, creating sustains and maintains, sustaining and maintaining embodies. And when you're in this practice with your language, the magic in the relationship that you're having opens you up. And so I feel the cohesiveness of how our conversation holds that container for creating the world in which we live.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And And I'm really getting more conscious and more conscious and more conscious about the words I speak about someone or something, because I'm creating them in every moment. I'm creating the event. You know, if I say, oh, that's you know, oh, that's scary, or it's not going to happen, or it's whatever, I'm creating that with my words, as you say, with my thoughts. Yeah. And if I am thinking, you know, not really great thoughts about somebody, or I'm telling Otto, you know, I'm creating them. And it's real. I mean, I learned that years ago, but I keep relearning it and relearning it and relearning it.
And I think that's where observing our thinking can be the possibility, the magic to bring us into the craving what we really do want to exist in our reality, that our observing practice brings us aware of that. Oh, it gives it a place that I can be, you know, persnickety, or I don't know where that word just came from. I haven't used that one in a long time. I can allow myself to witness, to be vulnerable in the what I perceive as yucky, which really isn't to me. It's just diving deeper. And then I can observe and see, what do I crave to have instead of that? What are those magic relationship words that come forth from me, co-creating within the consciousness?
I have a story, a quick story that just exactly what you're talking about. Years ago, I was a library director at one of the local 2-year colleges, and I would drive an hour, you know, to where this was, because I lived in one town and this was in another town. And I had a problem employee. And all the way to, you know, the library, I would be telling myself, what am I going to do with her? You know, she does this and she does this wrong and this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. And of course, it just kept, you know, snowballing. And finally, I woke up and said, wait a minute, I'm creating her. I am creating her to be this person that I don't really want to work with. So I switched and I gave thanks for her. I found things to appreciate about her on my drive, you know, to I like pre whatever loaded my thinking, and everything changed. Everything got easier. She actually got better as an employee. It showed me, you know, and I said, I keep relearning this, but it showed me the power of my thinking and my words. You know, if I'm telling Otto, or, you know, whatever, oh, she's terrible, blah, 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 I am creating her. Yeah. And that one idea is really, really important to me.
I want to share an important distinction here about what you're talking about, Susie. And Victoria, you talked about the book and the concept of magic relationship words. Most people have it reversed. We've had so many people over the years that we've coached or worked with that would say, my relationship with so-and-so, you know, whether it's a partner, a child, a parent, a coworker, whatever, my relationship with them would be so much better if I only knew the right words to say. So we created magic relationship words to give them the right words. But here's the problem with the whole thing is you don't need tips and ideas for the right words when you're showing up with love. Because the words organically flow from who you are being in that moment. So if you are showing up as loving and kind, and you are creating that person in your world as someone that's kind and loving and special and amazing, then you're going to use words that go along with the way that you see them. You're going to use words that go along with how you want them to show up. And really, it's the truth of who they are. It's the truth of who you are. And it's the truth of who everyone is.
And so those words come from the thinking that we're believing to be true
In
that moment.
they always do.
Yeah.
And so what I hear is that you wrote that book at a time that served the people in where they were in the listening. And you've moved beyond that at this point in time, that it's the authentic, transparent, vulnerable you, that the words are in alignment from that place in you, that it springs forth in consciously co-creating yourself
Well,
with them.
Actually, it's even deeper than that. It's actually a manipulative tool on our part to meet people where they
Yeah.
are.
But
And
we wove that idea in there.
yeah, so that's the idea, is
That's
to meet people where they are with their desire to give them the right words. And then throughout the entire program, we're weaving the message of, you don't need these words.
Well, where the words come from.
Where the words come from.
That's really
that's the message.
That's the message.
Yeah.
And but as you say, we were trying to meet people. I just want the words. Well, but we're going to slip this idea in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we all need access points.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm thinking going back to the trees and the stone beings. I discovered access points in different ways over the last 30 years. And so my relationship with animate beings is different than it was when I first started. So that is true in our language, I think, too, that we may have a relationship with magic relationship words that open us up into that deeper relationship of ourselves that is beneath or beyond or behind, however you want to like get your access point to it. And that there's a field that operates in the whole of that includes all of those possibilities, whether it's the magic word that's the access point, or the vulnerable experience that opens you up into more of who you are in that relationship. That there's a place for all of it to move you into the next version of how you're being in yourself.
Oh, I love that, because I'll give you an example of a magic word. It's we sometimes, often we have our own preconceived idea about why somebody said something or did something, and we lash out because from our thinking. But one of the magic words or phrases is tell me more about that. And that in itself is a different, opens possibilities, as you say, when you can stop and really ask that question from a place of curiosity inside you. So that's where the possibilities come in. And, the other person doesn't get defensive.
And I could even ask myself that question when I hear myself saying something. Okay, Victoria, tell me more about that. And use it as my own self-inquiry to get to what's underneath that and be able to, as we say, craving what that word or that idea is for me. I can choose to repurpose my old thinking into what would I like it to mean for me. And that's another one of our templates. So what I love in this moment is that the way in which you guys operate with love and possibility is a form, and the way in which I use templates through the field of Tantra Mat to create a world is a form, and they all give us access, that all the paths give us access points to being in a deeper, easier, more loving relationship to ourselves and in the world in which we operate. What were you going to say, Otto?
I have no idea what I was going to say back then. But I'll tell you what's present for me in this moment is in this moment, it's what's the story that you're living from in this moment, and that's the place that you're going to create from. Whatever that story is about what something means or what it doesn't mean. Because that's the place, we were talking about the magic words and we were talking about creating a world. We all have an idea about what something means. And the way that we connect with someone else about that, the way that we share, like if you were to share with certain people, or if I were to share with certain people, just straight away that, I have this conversation with these trees in my backyard. Well, they'd want to be calling, certain kinds of people to come and talk to me and so forth, and then other people would say, well, tell me more about that. And how I would respond is, how when you were little that you had these imaginary friends that you actually talked to, that you thought were real? Well, I have these friends that are in the backyard that are actually real, that I talk to, that are just like the imaginary friends, except for these ones here are the ones that I can actually see. So it's finding ways to present something and to connect to somebody else's worldview in a way that connects you instead of separates you. There are going to be other people that you're going to talk about, well, the trees in my backyard have names. They're going to go, great, tell me what they are. And other people,
like Victoria,
like you, and other people are going to go, wow, that's really a stretch for me, but okay, whatever works for you, Otto. But you got to meet people where they are. Yeah.
That's great. And they're all versions of relationship.
Totally.
Yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes. I do want to hear a little more about the book coming out next week. It's
this is a proof copy, so there's a line through it, but it's our baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and the book was created literally. I mean, it's the subtitle is called The Book of Possibilities. And that's the whole game here. Is it's like we're living our lives and we're in this room, and the room has 4 walls, but there's no doors. And we've created the walls around us. And what this book does for people when they read it is it's like they're able to take like a miniature saw and open up a doorway in the room that's called the way they see the world. And they're able to step out into a new room. Or, as a friend of ours used to say quite a bit, is there are many rooms in the mansion. And what he meant by that was there are many more possibilities that are available than people can see, but they've got to be able to see beyond what they can see right now. And so, I mentioned earlier about taking a look at the unknown. That's one of the things that we're doing in the book, but also the book is really about an invitation. If I were to say there's one thing this is about, it's an invitation to opening to something else, to something more, to some new possibility that you haven't been able to see up until now. It's an invitation to step beyond the way that you have seen yourself, the way that you've seen love, the way that you've seen the people in your life, so that you can open to just something more, even more special, something that's more deeply able to help you connect with the people in your life. And whatever version of love that would be exciting for you that you maybe can't even see right now.
Well, let me piggyback on that a little bit. We had a early reader, and we loved our early readers. They gave us all kinds of, feedback about what we had written. But one person said, well, the end of each chapter, you need to have a question that points people in a certain direction about whatever the chapter was about. And Otto and I threw that around, with each other. And then we decided, no, people reading this need to see their own direction, their own vision, their own, what did you get out of that? Not what did we think you should get out of it. But that's
I'd love to speak to that, Susie,
Yes.
speak about that. When I envisioned this mansion with all the rooms in it, I opened up into there's a mansion with all these rooms, and there's what is beyond that
Yes.
holds the mansion with all the rooms.
Yes.
And what does that look like? What's my vision of that? And it just, both of what you guys are saying are the opening up to the possibilities, the physical looking at it in what's each room and what do you want to create, and then the idea of your own self-inquiry. Instead of being given the question, it's create your own question, create your own ideas, create your own vision. And it just, I'm like a little choked up about it because it's the both end of, you have this of what you see, and then the mystery, like Otto, I love the mystery of what is unseen. Doesn't mean it's not there. It's just unseen or unknown to you at this moment. And it may open up in a way that just completely changes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share my story because I just got back from Ireland recently, and there is a magic that exists for me in the land of Ireland, as well as the people. The people are magic in and of themselves. And in this moment in time, I went to be with the land and deepen my relationship. And this notion of there's this idea that we have that we open up beyond and we get cosmic opening, like we think the sky and beyond. But there's also the earth and deeper into the earth beyond that, how we have a relationship to the center of our beingness as an earth being, that we are made of the elements of the earth. And so that was my new possibility of how I could be in relationship more with that. And so my experience was big fat love with the earth as she is, however you hold her to be, as part of me, and I'm part of the earth as well as part of the cosmos and part of the whole in which everything is operating on behalf of. And so I have a juicier, more coherent and cohesive understanding of big fat love and what those three words, how they can take you into such a broader, deeper, wider lens of who we are and who we are together. So I'm loving big fat love. That's
Yeah.
my favorite new phrase.
Beautiful, beautiful,
beautiful.
Victoria.
Yeah.
And I would invite everyone else who has a story of big fat love to share your story and to get the book and read what the possibilities of your own vision open up for you. So I will plug your book because I can't wait to see it. I saw some preview work and it's exciting. So we have just about 5 more minutes. How do we close? Because this feels like a conversation that doesn't fully close, but that it just moves into the next experience of how we are in ourselves. But what is that next experience for you guys?
I want to tell a story from the book. I want to tell a shortened version of a story in the book. There's a chapter in the book that I think will really serve people. And the chapter is called Relax Harder. Relax Harder. Several years ago, I used to train in the martial art Aikido. And it's the only martial art where there's no attacks. It's all defense. And so I used to go to these seminars where there'd be a special teacher come in and would teach the techniques and to teach different things in unique ways. And I remember going to one of those seminars, and one of the black belts, one of the students that had been training for a long time, I was working with him on a particular technique. And all of a sudden he just stops me and he says, "Otto, relax harder. That's the only way you're going to get it."
Because you were pushing.
So just pause and sit in that
Mhm.
of playing that out in your entire life of relax harder, because that's the only way you're going to get it. You're not going to get what you want in life by what you're saying, Susie, which is the pushing.
Yeah.
And to try to make stuff happen. But it's this dance between us as humans of being the created. We are the created and being the creators. Of recognizing that that dance is going on all the time. We are the created and we are the creators. And that there's nothing to fear ever. And when you start to sit in that and to see that we are the created, we are the creators, and that there's nothing to fear other than our stories that we have about things that we've made up that there are to fear, then you can relax harder and just life becomes easier.
What a precious gem. What a precious gem. Relax harder. That's mine for the day.
Yeah.
Except for you.
Well, I love that story. I love what Otto's saying, and it's absolutely showing up. And I go back to what I've said about choice, and I'm pushing here. I'm pushing. Whoa, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Come back. I have a choice. There could be other possibilities here of love, of loving whoever's in front of me or loving me
Yeah.
whatever that looks like. So for me, it's looking at how do I take myself away from love, and then how do I bring myself back into who I truly am, the source of who I am.
The mystery.
Yes.
And I'm going to close with some words I heard out of my own mouth from creation the other day. And it's kind of an amalgam of what I heard from Joan Borasinko years ago. And living in possibility, living in mystery is existing in no longer and not yet. And that's where relationship, possibility, love, big fat love is. Thank you so much. I could just keep going on and on and on with you guys. And we're in linear time with this. So I just so appreciate having time to share conversation with you and opening us up into relationship, opening us up into working in service on behalf of all life. And blessed be.
Mhm.
Love you.
Love you.